$41.17. That's all Jordan has sitting in his bank account right now, and payday is still 3 days away. This is the third month in a row it's happened. Here's the part that doesn't add up. Jordan makes more money than he did 2 years ago. A real raise, not a small one. 35% more than he used to bring home. And somehow he's more broke now than he was at his old, lower paying job. Working the same hours, living what looks from the outside like a completely normal, responsible life. Nobody tells you this, but staying broke almost never comes down to one big mistake. There's no dramatic story here. No boat purchase, no casino trip, no single disaster that wrecks everything at once. It's 10 small, boring, easy to miss habits, repeated quietly every single month, until the money is gone before it ever had a chance to become anything. Ask most people why they're broke and they'll point to their income. Ask them to actually track a month of spending and the real answer usually shows up somewhere else entirely. Jordan is making almost all 10 of them without even realizing it, and that's exactly why he's stuck. And chances are you might be making a few of them too. Today, we're going to break down all 10 habits and more importantly, how to fix them. Because the moment Jordan starts, everything can change. Not overnight, but faster than he'd expect. Stick around, because habit number 7 is the one that trips up almost everyone. Even people who make good money. Sometimes, especially people who make good money. None of these 10 things look dramatic from the outside. Nobody's filming themselves overspending. There's no single receipt that explains it, no one-line item you could point to and say, there, that's the problem. That's exactly why they're so easy to ignore, Joe. And exactly why they quietly keep people broke for years without anyone, including the person living it, noticing what's actually happening. By the time it's obvious, it's usually been happening for a long time already. Let's walk through what's keeping Jordan stuck, one habit at a time, and what actually fixes each one. Habit number 1, lifestyle creep. 2 years ago, Jordan made $38,000. Today, he makes $52,000, a 35% jump. On paper, he should feel like he's finally getting ahead, finally building some breathing room after years of tight months. Instead, the apartment got nicer and $400 more expensive. A car payment appeared that didn't exist before. Grocery runs quietly turned into food delivery 3 or 4 nights a week. The phone plan got upgraded. A few more nights out with friends became the norm instead of the exception. None of it happened all at once, and none of it felt like overspending in the moment. Each upgrade felt earned, like something Jordan had finally worked hard enough to deserve after years of scraping by. Looking back at any single decision, it's hard to even call it a mistake. It's only when they're all lined up together that the pattern becomes obvious. But the gap between what Jordan makes and what Jordan spends never actually got bigger. It stayed exactly the same size, just at a higher number. He didn't get ahead. He got a more expensive version of broke, one quiet upgrade at a time, without ever making a single decision that felt reckless in isolation. The fix isn't refusing every upgrade forever. It's deciding, the moment a raise lands, where the extra money goes before it ever reaches his checking account. Automatically into savings or debt payoff so the lifestyle can't quietly absorb it first. If the money moves before Jordan sees it, there's nothing left to creep toward. Habit number 2, no real budget. Jordan built a budget spreadsheet 8 months ago. Color-coded categories, formulas for the totals, the whole setup. Used it for 4 days, then never opened it again. For a long time, Jordan told people he kind of budgets, which really just meant he had a vague feeling about what he spends and hoped it worked out by the end of the month. Sometimes it did. Most months it didn't, and he could have told you why even if you asked. The money would just be gone, and by the time he noticed, there was nothing left to trace it back to. No record, no receipts, just the fact of an empty account and a vague sense that something had gone wrong somewhere along the way. This is one of the quietest habits separating people who get ahead from people who stay stuck, knowing with actual numbers where every dollar goes. Not a feeling, not a guess, a number. Jordan needs to track every expense for 30 days, no exceptions. The coffee, the subway, the subscriptions, the late night order he swore he'd stop making. People in Jordan's exact situation typically find $200 to $400 a month leaking out on things they don't even remember buying. That leak is the starting point for everything else on this list. The fix here isn't building the perfect system, it's building the smallest possible one Jordan will actually keep using. A single note on his phone, logged in real time for 1 full month. Perfect tracking that gets abandoned after 4 days is worthless. Rough tracking that survives 30 days changes everything downstream because it turns a vague sense of money just disappears into an actual list of specific, nameable places it went. Habit number 3, only making minimum payments. Jordan has a $2,300 credit card balance and pays a $65 minimum every month, telling himself he's handling it because the payment always goes through and nothing ever bounces. Here's what he hasn't run the numbers on. At minimum payments only, that balance takes over 7 years to clear, and Jordan ends up paying almost double what he originally borrowed. 7 years for a phone upgrade and some Christmas gifts that were forgotten about within weeks of buying them. Minimum payments aren't a responsible baseline. They're calculated on purpose to keep a balance alive as long as possible while barely touching the principal. It's not a safety net, it's a treadmill, and right now, Jordan is quietly running on it every single month without realizing he's not actually going anywhere, no matter how consistent he is about making the payment on time. Getting off the treadmill means throwing every extra dollar at the highest interest balance first while keeping minimums on everything else. Or, for anyone who needs the motivation more than the math, knocking out the smallest balance first and rolling that payment into the next one. Either way, the plan has to be more than pay whatever's due. A plan has an end date attached to it. Pay the minimum doesn't, it just quietly extends a timeline. Every month it continues without ever announcing that it's doing so. Habit number 4, no emergency fund. Last year, Jordan's car needed a $600 repair out of nowhere, a part he'd never even heard of until the mechanic explained it. He didn't have $600 sitting anywhere, so it went straight on a credit card. And thanks to habit number 3, that $600 repair quietly turned into almost $700 by the time it was paid off, 5 months of minimum payments later. That wasn't really a car problem. Cars break. That's normal and predictable in hindsight, even if it never feels predictable in the moment. It was an emergency fund problem. Without a cushion, every surprise becomes debt, and every piece of debt becomes another monthly bill competing with rent and groceries. It compounds, not just financially, but mentally. People without an emergency fund don't just lose money when something breaks. They lose the ability to plan because they're always bracing for the next surprise instead of building towards something further out. Every dollar is already spoken for before it even arrives. Even $1,000 sitting untouched is enough to break the cycle. It won't cover everything. It just has to stop the bleeding. The fund doesn't need to be complete to start working. The first repair it covers instead of a credit card is proof it's already paying for itself. And once that first emergency gets absorbed without a new balance appearing anywhere, the whole relationship with money starts to shift. Surprises stop feeling like crises. Habit number 5, financing things that lose value. Jordan's car was $24,000 new. He financed almost all of it, and the only question he asked at the dealership was, what's the monthly payment? Not, what is this actually going to cost me over the life of the loan? 2 years later, the car is worth maybe $16,000. He still owes close to $19,000 on it. If he sold it today, he'd have to write a check just to get out of owning it. Underwater, on a car, a phrase Jordan didn't even know applied to him until it did. This is a double hit that most people never notice happening. The asset loses value every day, and on top of that, interest is quietly adding to what's owed, so the total cost climbs even as the thing itself is worth less and less. Wealthy adjacent thinking isn't never finance anything. It's asking, before signing anything, whether this is something needed right now or just something wanted right now, and running the actual total cost, not just a monthly payment before agreeing to anything. A payment that fits the budget can still be a terrible deal, and the dealership finance office has no incentive to point that out. Habit number 6, comparing himself to everyone online. Jordan buys things not because he needs them, and often not even because he really wants them, but because someone else has them. New sneakers because a guy from high school he hasn't spoken to in 6 years posted a photo of his. A trip to Mexico he genuinely couldn't afford because everyone in the group chat was going and he didn't want to be the one person who said no. This pressure doesn't feel like pressure from the outside. Nobody's telling Jordan to spend. It's just constant exposure to everyone else's best moments on a loop all day, quietly resetting what feels normal to spend on until the baseline has crept up without a single conscious decision behind it. Nobody online posts their bank statement. Nobody posts the bill that came after the trip or the $580 truck payment behind the new truck. They post the highlight, never the invoice. Jordan has been quietly financing his real life, trying to keep pace with other people's highlight reel. A competition nobody actually announced and nobody can actually win. The fix isn't quitting social media. It's building a pause before any purchase that starts with, everyone else has this. A day, a week, whatever it takes to ask if it's actually wanted or just being chased. Most of those purchases don't survive the pause because the urgency was never really about the item. It was about not wanting to feel left behind for a few scrolling minutes. Habit number 7, treating income as the whole solution. This is the one that trips up almost everyone, even people making real money, sometimes especially them, because the raise arrives and seems to prove the theory right up until it doesn't. For years, Jordan's entire financial plan was one sentence. If I just made more money, this would fix itself. Not a budget, not a plan, just waiting for a bigger number to arrive and solve everything on its own, as if the problem had always been the paycheck and never the 10 habits sitting underneath it. Then it happened, the raise, 35% more income, almost overnight. 5 months later, Jordan's right back to $41.17 before payday. Same story, bigger paycheck attached to it. People making $120,000 or $150,000 a year describe this exact feeling constantly. More stressed about money than people making half that because the income changed but nothing underneath it did. This is quietly one of the most common traps out there. People assume income is the whole fix, when income with no change habits is just a bigger pipe pouring water into a bucket with the same holes in it. The bucket doesn't care how much water gets poured in, it leaks at the same rate regardless. Fixing the leaks always has to come before turning up the faucet. Otherwise, a raise just means going broke at a higher income level with a slightly nicer apartment to show for it. It's a strange thing to sit with, that the number Jordan spent years chasing, believing it was the missing piece, arrived and changed almost nothing. The relief he was waiting for was never really about the paycheck. It was about the 10 habits underneath it, and no raise, no matter how large, was ever going to fix those on its own. Habit number 8, no clear goals. Ask Jordan what he's saving for, and the honest answer has always been something like saving more or getting better with money, which isn't a goal, it's a mood. There's no number attached to it, no date, nothing to actually aim at, nothing that could be checked against 3 months from now to see if it's working. Vague goals don't pull anyone anywhere. Without a destination, there's no reason to redirect money away from whatever's right in front of him. And a vague goal like save more can't compete with a specific right now craving for takeout or new shoes. The specific thing always wins against the vague thing every single time because it's the only one actually asking to be satisfied today. The fix is almost embarrassingly simple. Attach a real number and a real date. $3,000 emergency fund by December. $200 a month, automatic, starting now. The second a goal becomes specific, it stops being a feeling Jordan carries around and becomes something he can actually check himself against. On pace or not? That's a question with an answer. Am I getting better with money? Never was. No matter how many months he asked himself that same unanswerable question. Habit number 9. Ignoring small recurring expenses. Going line by line through Jordan's statement turns up a streaming service he hasn't opened in 4 months, a fitness app used twice and never canceled, a subscription box from a sale 8 months ago that was supposed to get canceled next month, and a cloud storage upgrade nobody remembers choosing in the first place. Added up, over $60 a month, disappearing automatically for things Jordan isn't using. Individually, none of it registers. $5 here, $12 there, easy to shrug off in the moment, easier still to forget existed at all by the time the next charge hits. Over a year, it's more than $700, quietly leaking out one small, forgettable charge at a time, almost an entire emergency fund, gone in pieces nobody bothered to check. The fix takes 15 minutes, once every few months, pull up the statement, find every recurring charge, and cancel anything that can't be justified out loud in one sentence. If it takes more than one sentence to defend, it's probably not earning its spot. And most people, once they actually do this audit, are surprised how many charges don't survive even that low a bar. Habit number 10, waiting for the right time to start. Underneath everything else is one more quiet habit. Jordan's real plan has always been, I'll start once I get a raise. I'll budget once things calm down. I'll deal with the credit card once I have more breathing room. Each excuse made sense on its own. Some months really were tight. There really wasn't spare time some weeks. But strung together, they add up to years of waiting for permission from his own life before taking any of this seriously. And the raise, when it finally arrived, didn't change anything because the plan was never actually connected to the number. It was connected to a feeling of readiness that kept moving further away the closer Jordan got to it. This might be the biggest habit on the entire list. Not the budgeting, not the subscriptions, just actually starting before feeling ready. Imperfect action, starting today with whatever's actually in the account, beats a perfect plan that never gets started. The fix isn't complicated. Pick one habit from this list and start it today. Not the version of today that shows up once things calm down. Because for Jordan, and for most people, that version of today never actually arrives on its own schedule. It has to be built on purpose, starting with whichever habit feels most doable right now. Right now, Jordan is living paycheck to paycheck despite a real raise, with $41.17 in his account and 3 days to go. But none of this is permanent. It's a starting point, not a life sentence, and every single habit on this list has a fix that starts today rather than someday. Number 1 lifestyle creep. Decide where a raise goes before it lands. Number 2, no real budget. Track every dollar for 30 days. Number 3, only making minimum payments. Attack the highest interest balance first. Number 4, No emergency fund. Start with $1,000. Number 5. Financing things that lose value. Ask what it really costs, not just the payment. Number 6. Comparing himself to everyone online. Pause before everyone else has this purchases. Number 7. Treating income as the whole solution. Fix the leaks before raising the income. Number 8. No clear goals. Attach a real number and a real date. Number 9. Ignoring small recurring expenses. Audit every few months. Cancel what can't be justified. Number 10. Waiting for the right time to start. Start today, not someday. None of these are dramatic. None of them make for an exciting story. That's exactly the point. They're quiet, they're boring, and they work against you anyway, whether or not you're paying attention to them. Jordan's situation isn't special and it isn't hopeless. It's the same situation a lot of people watching this video are in right now, down to the exact number in the account and the exact excuses for why nothing's changed yet. The only thing separating stuck Jordan from a version of Jordan who isn't checking his account with dread every month is whether he actually starts fixing one of these. Not all at once, not perfectly, just one habit chosen honestly, started today. Here's the homework for Jordan and for you. Pick one of these 10 and fix it this week. Not all 10. One. Master that one, then move to the next. Drop a comment with which one you're guilty of. If this helped, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.